the Pluribus podcast, where the Lorehounds, your guides to the end of the world as we know it. I'm David, or should I say, we're David. This person, formerly known as David, I'm one of the regular hosts of the Lorehounds.
And I'm Nichole. I'm one of the hosts of Never Mind the Music, an affiliate of the Lorehounds. I'm keeping my individuality. I'm not joining up. But today, we've teamed up together to cover Season 1 of Pluribus on Apple TV. This is our Season 1 wrap-up podcast, and we're joined with the infamous John Lorehound. Welcome, John.
We are pleased to be here. This individual was trapped in a podcasting studio for the first few weeks of the outbreak, and so was unable to become part of the Pluribus until recently.
The plurbs.
The plurbs, yes. We call them the plurbs here.
It's plurbin time. Did you all see Vince Gilligan saying it's plurbin time in that one video?
No, I missed it.
Oh, he did it. He did it.
Okay, perfect. Really quick, we all owe a massive, I don't know, it's not a debt, but our gratitude and our admiration to Nancy M., aka Two Kids, Two Dogs, for all of her help this season. She really was instrumental in collecting the feedback and organizing the outlines for the shows. And Nichole and I had a lot of, other life stuff going on. It was the holidays and whatnot, a couple of holidays. And without Nancy's help, it would have been a much harder task. So Nancy, thank you so much. I know Nancy, and just for everyone's appreciation, Nancy loves Vince Gilligan and the whole Vince Gilligan world. She loved this show. She loves this community. And for her, it's an expression not only of her appreciation of the community, but it's something that gives her a lot of joy when she's taking part in these shows. She is a Lorehound, just not a on-air mic Lorehound. So Nancy, thank you again for everything. We really, really appreciate you and all the support that you gave us. Whenever season 2 does come back, the email will still be there. It is pluribus@thelorehounds.com. We will keep it open. So if there's anything that you need to let us know about, you can shoot it our way. But, who knows when they're going to get season 2, but we will be here when they do come back.
And David, I think you're giving us too much credit and saying Nancy made our jobs easier. I think this would have been impossible without her help. It's not hyperbolic. I really do think she was the glue that kept our ship together. Maybe mixing metaphors there.
Yeah,
but we really appreciate you, Nancy. I loved engaging with you on our community Discord. We were a fan of Never Mind the Music, and we kind of fell in step with each other there. And I was so thrilled to see you involved here too. It was really nice to work with you one-on-one and get to know you a little bit better. Our community Discord is a great place to make new friends and interact. So please make sure that you're continuing the conversation, even though the season's over. Post updates, post questions, post theories. We'd love to engage with you on our Discord page.
And links for that are in the show notes. As for all of the other Lorehound Network podcasts, also our subscription pages, we're an independent podcast. So if you feel like you're enjoying what we're doing here, then I invite you to subscribe. Your financial support makes all of this possible. We couldn't do it without you. I sound like an NPR pledge drive right now, but that's okay because it's the truth. We couldn't do it without you. So I invite you to subscribe if you're able, and if not, no worries at all. But if you need to get any of the other podcasts or find out where the Discord is or anything like that, go to the show notes. There's a link tree, and then that little webpage has all of the links to all of our resources. So today, we're going to start off with our tepid takes. John might have some hotter takes, so maybe some lukewarm takes. We'll see. We want to get his impression of the season overall. Nichole, you and I did our sort of season, or episode 9 vibe check the other week. So that podcast is out there. But today, we're going to talk about the season overall. And then what Nancy helped us do was collect up some voicemails and some emails and some Discord comments. And we're going to kind of use those comments as a structure for talking about the season overall. We'll talk about Carol, Manusos, theories around the hive, that kind of stuff. But first, John, what did you were, I think you caught up midway, or I don't remember how you got into the show.
I think I got in around episode 4-ish, and I I started watching around the time episode 4 was out. I did not start at episode 4 because that would have not made a lot of sense. But I came up and I was like, oh, I should have covered this with David. So because I was just like, oh my God, this is such a good show. I mean, at the same time, I had a lot going on in my life late in the year, and I'm glad that I didn't cover it with you because that would have been a scheduling disaster. And I'm also so pleased I've had your podcast as a companion for most of the journey, right? Because I started episode 4, so I
should hope so.
I think I actually, because I didn't binge it. I watched it over a few days. I caught up over a few days, so I did actually listen to your podcast pretty much weekly. And it was such a joy to listen to it. And Nichole, as much as I feel like I missed out on covering this season, I'm so glad that you were there to do it with David because you added so much on the psychology side and you added so much depth to that part of it. And so I'm really, like, you guys really balanced each other out all season. So here's where I heap my praise upon you both.
Thanks, man. David's made it quite clear that I was his second choice to host. So, no, it has been really fun. It was a really nice opportunity and really fun to establish some great off-mic banter and really record it with David.
Look, it took a second for our icebergs to bump up against each other subsurface. So, and then when we did, it was obvious that you're the first choice.
Yeah.
Why did I think anything else? It was ridiculous.
I mean, I think you guys should come back. I mean, if we're all alive by the time that season 2 comes out, I think you guys should just come back and do it again, the two of you, because it was a really great combo.
Well, I think Nichole was planning on quitting her high-paying day job and just becoming a full-time underfunded podcaster.
Yeah, I was going to climb down from the ivory tower of higher ed.
Everyone knows college professors are just raking it in, day out.
Especially in the liberal arts. You know?
That's right. Well, I don't think you can be a college professor nowadays unless you have a viable TikTok or a podcast, right?
I think that I tell people I have a podcast. They're like, of course you do. You're a professor. That's like your whole gig is just now you don't have to stand up in front of people. You can sit down and do it, which I'm happy to. But I'm trying to get better. My New Year's resolution is to get better at taking a compliment. So I'll just say thank you for that compliment, John.
In the end, we will all become meme. And we're
we'll all become meme?
We will all become meme.
I love it.
Because we're all going to have our podcasts and it's going to be great.
It's going to be very 6-7.
So,
but I heard it's over now. It's already 6-7 is already over.
Do you know I was in New York City around the holidays? Now I'm getting off track. I was in New York City over the holidays, and there was a Santa driving a rickshaw with the 6-7 song blasting. And I was like, this is just really fantastic. This is really, New York City Gen Alpha edition.
Exactly. Anyway, on with your tepid takes.
Okay, on with my tepid takes. I was in from the first episode. I watched the first episode. I said this is going to be great. I know some people were a little like, oh, this is slow. This is, this is that. I never felt that way. I know I said in the top 10, like, maybe there's some pacing issues. I changed my mind by the end of the season because I think that and one of the things that made me change my mind was an interview I heard with Ray Seahorn, where she was talking about, and I think this was on the official pod, she was talking about how she learned from Jonathan Banks how to hold empty space, right? How to hold a scene and really just not say a word, but keep the camera's attention, keep the audience's attention, and be active while doing nothing. And that really interested me. And the rest of the time I was watching the show, I went, oh, you're doing the acting thing right now. It's really, really great. Not that I didn't think she was great before that, but it just elevated it a little bit.
Yeah, it recontextualized it for you. And I'll just mention that for folks who don't know the Vince Gilligan universe, Jonathan Banks played Mike Ehrmantraut both in Breaking Bad and in Better Call Saul as a detective who then turns to a life of crime. He sort of breaks bad. But in Better Call Saul, there are these just amazing scenes where he's like breaking into a house or doing some other secret stuff. And it's just this cool music montage. And then Mike doing like all this secret squirrel stealthy stuff. No dialogue and literally him just acting, just being the character on camera. It's incredible.
Yeah, there's something about the way he moves. And I think Carol does this a little bit 2. But Carol almost feels like she's doing some of the Bryan Cranston and some of the some of the Jonathan Banks, in that she can do the panic, because that's the Bryan Cranston Walter White thing, right? He'll hold a scene solo, but it's like a panicked frazzle, and Carol will be that. So Ray Seahorn can do that, but she also can do the Jonathan Banks silent, cool, just doing my thing. And that's what makes her a really versatile and interesting actor, especially for a show like this where she does have to be alone so much. So I was just so impressed with her performance. It actually made me go back and start Better Call Saul, which I've never watched before. And I watched the first 2 seasons. I like binge them in a few weeks. Amazing show.
What you watching?
So far. Maybe we should do a what you watch. Let me finish the show first.
Fair enough.
But I mean, she's amazing in it. The show's great, and I'm now all Ray Seahorn pilled. I think she's fantastic.
Which is what Vince Gilligan said he saw in her, and why one of the sources of the show is his desire to showcase her. Right.
I'm waiting for Huel to come back from the Better Call Saul Breaking Bad universe. I think when Huel appears to her to be like, you don't remember being a lawyer in Albuquerque? That's going to be a real.
Wait till you get to the Hummel figurines, then we'll really know.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, other than that, the show, I mean, just the one criticism I have it is the green screen scenes are horrendous, and there's like no excuse for how bad they are. Like, I don't understand how this got greenlit on the green screen. You know what I mean? Like, the show is so perfect in every way, and then you get to a green screen scene, and you're like, this looks like The Room, that old movie that you know what I mean? That movie.
I don't know that movie, but I know what you.
It's a whole experience. If you weren't there for the moment of The Room,
okay,
I don't think you should even watch it now. I don't think it'll hold up. It's a movie that notoriously is a hate watch. Like, everybody watches it to make fun of it.
2003.
Is that with what's her name? The girl from Bird Box?
No, The Room was made by a very weird man named Tommy Wiseau, who we don't know the age or nationality of, because he keeps changing it.
Curious.
When he talks on interviews. And it really is like maybe the worst movie ever made. It is so bad that it's good. And it was so weird in the production that they ended up doing a movie about the making of it, starring James Franco as Tommy Wiseau.
Wow. Oh, I'd watch that.
Called The Disaster Artist.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
I've heard of that one.
It's a whole thing. Anyway, my point is, the green screens looked as bad as that, and that's not cool. So anyway, other than that, I thought everything in the show was brilliant. They really, dove deep into themes. I thought that they did a really good job of making me almost be like, well, maybe the plurbs aren't that bad for a while. And then by the end of the season, you're watching a quiet horror show where culture is colonized.
Mm.
And that opening scene of the last episode kind of encapsulates the whole show. And I know you guys were talking about this similarly, but encapsulates the whole show of it's peaceful and it's beautiful and it's horrific.
Yeah.
The way that this is, a quiet takeover, right? Not all colonization is physically violent. And yet there is a violence to this type of colonization, mental colonization, right?
Mm.
And I think that we're learning that the possession of all knowledge does not mean the possession of all people. And that's scary. That's just I think that season 2 is going to get way darker. I am convinced that Carol is going to get turned at some point, and then Manuso is going to have to bring her back. I don't think the show ends without that. I think maybe that's the season 2 penultimate and finale. Other than that, I love everyone on the show. Zosha, Manusos, even Lakshmi. What's her name? Lakshmi. Yeah. Oh, she's going to become an ally. I am so ready for Lakshmi to join the effort.
That phone call was brilliant. When
wasn't me.
You just know who it was. It was perfect.
But yeah, all right. That's my and also Kumba. He's not so bad. I think he's actually like kind of empathetic.
Yeah.
So I am very much looking forward to season 2 in the 17 years it'll take to make it, because Vince Gilligan is an insane man. And that's enough tepid Tepidity.
Tepidity from you? I like
Yes, tepidity from me.
Perfect. Nichole, any fresh thoughts from since when we talked last about our vibe check for episode?
No, I do want to say I loved the vibe check. I think that was a really great way just to dump out some ideas. And I think in our, just a mental note, in our season 2 coverage, I think we should do more vibe checks generally. But hot takes on the whole season. I'm really interested in what John just said about Carol being turned and Manusos having to unturn her. And I do think that would be a really interesting arc for the second season.
I think she's going to be the first one to be fixed. You see what I'm saying? Like
she's going to be recovery patient 0.
They're going to be close to a solution. They're not going to be quite there. She's going to get turned. And Manusos is going to be like, Carol Sturka, wake up. And he's going to do it.
I would love that.
He's going to be like crying over her, like, please wake up, Carol Sturka. The way he says it every single time, her full name.
It's really endearing.
Cracks me up. And I think that it's going to be a big moment. It's going to be a big moment. And they're going to have to bring her back. And then Carol's like, now I have to get my girlfriend. Maya and I, my wife and I watched this show, by the way, and I'm sorry that I've now hijacked your hot takes, Nichole, but I just wanted to say Maya and I watched the show and we burst out laughing when, what's her name? Carol made the tape and she goes, and Zosha, why is she so damn fuckable? And then throws it immediately into the toilet. Oh my God. We were cracking up and we quoted it like 3 times because it was just the best, funniest line of the show.
And that's one of the great things about this show is you're balancing these like really dark, non-hostile takeovers of humanity with these little bits of levity, like that scene, like the drone scene, and these little kind of breaks from the intensity, the voicemail messages that just becomes this bit over and over again. And I think that that's one of the beautiful things of this show is that it does know how to create that balance for the viewer. I think my hottest or most tepid take is that I'm eager to go back, take a beat, and then go back and watch the whole season again to look for the inevitable Easter eggs that were placed on our path that we just didn't pick up on in our first watch. So I'm eager for that second watch for sure, and I'm sure I'll have plenty of time to do it while they, I guess, write and produce season 2. I guess they're just starting from the beginning. That sounds cool. What about you, David?
I think I have no regrets that I put this as my 2025 number 1 show on my top 10 list, even before the finale was out. I think we recorded our top 10 episode mid-December, so we had like 2 episodes left. And I just didn't feel any danger that they were going to stumble and not stick this landing. The show just felt so confident from the beginning, from the outset. You know, we talk about a lot of shows needing 3 seasons to kind of find itself, for the characters to settle in and to get it really going. And I think from episode 1, this show knew what it was, knew who it is. And that only bodes well because once we get into season 2 and they've had more time to sort of marinate and think and reflect on all of this, they're going to be even more in sync with this world that they've created. And I think that just bodes really well. I also find this show fascinating from a sociological standpoint. So I got caught up in just the Vince Gilligan visual nonsense, right? I just loved the camera moves and the music and just how the show was edited and paced out. So that was just fascinating me and just making me very happy. And I love Rhea Seehorn and watching her on screen. And then just this cool idea of having an invasion, an alien invasion that wasn't nefarious from the get-go. That there is this, oh, well, no, it's fine. We're just, we're joined and the world is different now. It's all cool. So I loved all of that, turning around. So there's just all this really fascinating stuff. And then as we're watching the show, there's all these philosophical issues and psychological issues and now theological issues in there. The show is just rife with not only Christian theology, but a lot of really Christian coded things, 40 days, 13, 12 plus 1 for 13, unjoined, all kinds of stuff. So I'm fascinated by all of the different little facets and aspects of it. Meanwhile, on our Discord and in our feedback, we're getting comments of people who are like, the plurbs are evil, and oh my God, and people really having a lot of strong reactions in a lot of different ways. And at first I was just kind of like, oh, well, this is art. This means that it's art because people it's really activating people and having people respond. And that is true. And all of that is true. And this show is doing something even at a deeper level than that I don't think we can fully appreciate at this stage. It's going to take a second watch. It's going to take maybe a year of distance. It's going to, the season 2 pre-hype and then season 2 to really understand how deep Vince Gilligan and that creative community are in our heads and are tripping around in all of the semiotic nonsense that we have in our brains and how we're coded and decoding. Like it's just they're playing with stuff in there. And I don't think they're intending to do that. They're just intending to do their form of art. And somehow that is just so potent and so powerful. And so I have no qualms about having this be clearly my number one show in an incredible year of television. When we had Andor, when we had Severance, and
Heated Rivalry else. Too,
and Heated Rivalry. John, are you in on Heated Rivalry?
I never watched Heated Rivalry.
Oh my gosh, I've seen it twice since we've last.
Twice, Nichole. We just talked the other week. You watched.
I really got into it. It's like my whole personality now.
Wow,
it's like I watched it once and was riveted, and then it was just on in the background while I was like prepping my syllabus, which I know is problematic.
That's interesting.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's
but
interesting.
It's weirdly comforting. I don't know. It's so good. Very weirdly comforting.
Nice.
But so good. Thanks for giving me the push to watch it, even though it seems strange.
John, let us know when you do. We'll do a what you're watching on it.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, now that you have me thinking about all the TV of the year, the needle drop of the year was Bring Me to Life in the rehearsal. I can't. You can't beat that. Okay. You don't remember that?
No.
That was the whole thing in the plane when he's playing the song.
I haven't seen it, but I know.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. Now I know. Now I know what you're talking about. Now it's coming back to me, John. Sorry.
Well, the whole season's about planes, so that doesn't really spoil anything.
That's okay. Okay. So fair enough. And I think just really quickly, we're hatching a scheme. We're trying to see if Nevermind the Music will do favorite needle drop of the year kind of thing that's tied into our top 10 community survey. Because I think it would be fun to talk about what songs are kicking people in the head. Like right now for The Pit, because we just started covering that. I watched season 1, episode 1 the other night. And there's a song by Robert Bradley's Blackwater Surprise called Baby, where Noah Wiley's character's walking through the park on his way to work. It's like the opening scene. And man, that song has just been on heavy rotation for me in the last couple of days. It's so good. And I just want to talk about it. So I'm hoping that this will catch on and be an idea for the Lorehounds community.
You have to talk to the Nevermind the Music boss on that one.
Exactly. Your favorite, right? Community. What is the community? What songs in the community were favorites? So anyway, before we get into all of the feedback, we did have one piece of feedback from Peter O.H., longtime supporter, lore master Peter O.H. Besides taking a casual stroll in the Darien Gap to look for chunga palms, I would enjoy the following things were made possible for me by the plurbs. And this is within the rubric, within the question of if you were immune, what might you get up to? And Peter O.H. says, take a ride in a supersonic jet, go into space, attend concerts and shows and professional sports fixtures. I would probably have my favorite singers come to my living room and perform. Visit all the cool places. In the vein of Westworld, have the plurbs create a create and populate a realistic, gigantic Middle Earth. Ooh, I like that. That's a really interesting idea. I would live every day like it was my 111th birthday. Long term, I would do the following: learn woodworking and some other creative hobbies. Plant a planet-improving amount of trees and do something related to animals and the conservation of animals. So Nichole and I have talked about our ideas. John, what would you get up to if you were one of the immune and you did not have your eggs frozen and available?
I would say I want you to get 100 plurbs together in a sweatshop and finish A Song of Ice and Fire with George R. R. Martin's brain. That's what I would say first.
Okay.
Sweatshop conditions. He doesn't deserve better at this point.
And you'd be like slowly beating a drum over them.
That's right. That's right. No, actually, I think I'd dress like a 1910s millionaire, like a real like fat cat.
Monopoly man?
Yeah, I'd be a real fat cat kind of robber baron kind of guy, make him work, make him fear a little bit.
You wouldn't be a Victorian era's person's imagination of what a torturer might look like with a leather mask. And
I take it upon myself to not put on leather masks for any reason. But
interesting. I didn't know that about you.
So anyway, I would also say, get me the cast of The Wheel of Time and finish that up. all of my asks are content based.
I love it. No, it's great. That is a great theme. I love that idea because everybody's just like, I'd go to space or whatever. Right? Like, not to mock anybody, but
like, no, dance for me, entertain me, plurbs.
That's awesome. I love it. All right, good. Well, let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, we will get into the season wrap feedback. And we are back, and it is not the emails that we received along the way, but it is our new friends in London who send us voicemails that are the meaning of the journey and the spirit of the Pluribus community. And to start our feedback off, we have a voicemail from Caroline.
Hi, lovely Lorehounds. It's Caroline, the writer who lives in London. I just finished watching the Pluribus finale, season 1, and it's so good watching it after your recap that pointed out things I wouldn't have noticed the first time. What a wonderful show it is. As I was watching, I thought of a couple of things that I'm sure everyone has thought of before, but I'm going to throw them out there anyway because you asked for voicemails. The first thing I realized is that the reasons the others, the plurbs, are spending so much time and money and resources on the 13 holdouts, or rather now the 12 holdouts, instead of just ignoring them and getting on with their business, is that I guess even one of them could pull everything down. They need to have every single one of the unaffected on board before they can implement their plan of sending out the virus to other planets. They can't just ignore them. The second thing I noticed and loved was that final yearning look that Carol, or Carol Sturka, as Manusos always calls her, that yearning look that Carol gives Zosha. It's in the helicopter before she gets out. It's so wonderful because Carol loves her mortal enemy and she can't stand her ally. What a wonderful source of delicious conflict from a writer's point of view to start out the new series, the next series. And the final thing I wanted to say was that I've been thinking all along this is a metaphor for Christianity, the type of Christianity that Jesus talks about in a way. Love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, turn the other cheek, be joyful in all things, love your neighbors, you love yourself. And that's what the others are doing all the time. And that's why I said in my first voicemail to you that if we actually behaved the way Jesus encourages us to behave in the Sermon on the Mount and elsewhere, would we even be human? Without conflict, would we be human? We need to struggle, we need to fight, but maybe not with each other, and maybe that's the difference. And I loved all Dave's observations about caritas and empathy, And that's the thing that the plurbs lack, that Christians should not lack, is that caritas, caring about even the smallest creature and having real empathy with each other. That's why this show is such a wonderful thought experiment for thinking about a completely different mindset that would make us not what we have been for millennia, other than what we've been for our whole existence as humans. That's why I think Vince Gilligan is a genius, and I can't wait for season 2 to start and to accompany it with your wonderful deep dive into the psychology and philosophy of this series. Thanks so much, and have a wonderful few years until we see you again.
Caroline, I hope that we do not have to wait a couple of years to interact with you again. I feel seen in this moment, that somebody else resonates with my same ideas about the Christian theological elements and specifically the Caritas thing, because I'm like, oh my God, this show, it's so great. So thanks for picking up on that, Caroline. And just a reminder to folks, I wrote a little blog post that includes some of that stuff. So you can find that on our blog. A couple of thoughts that jumped out at me in her voicemail was the conflict between characters and how great that is from a writer's point of view. And then this question of humanity and our struggles. And let's start it from the viewpoint of what makes us human and the struggles that we have, and then how that kicks back into the conflict in characters and what makes interesting stories, the drama that makes interesting stories. John, since you're our guest here today, what are your initial thoughts on some of what Caroline had to say?
Yeah, and I'm a little pit-pilled right now too. And the pit does a great job of doing parallels between characters, right? Mm. And I'm seeing that too with Manusos and Carol. Both sort of going in opposite directions for a while until finally Carol hesitatingly pulls back up to being where Manusos is. And so I think that's so interesting that he, this is something that I think coworkers deal with a lot of this, you dislike someone who does the job well, right? So you want to work well with them. And then you have the person who is a really nice person, but makes your life harder because they don't do the job well, right? And what do you do with those two things? And Carol has the person, like Caroline was saying, the person who, or the people, that is the pluribus, that is working against her, but are just so lovely to be with, right? And then Manusos on the other side, being so interpersonally abrasive, and yet doing what she knows is the right thing. There is another thing I want to point out here, which is that there's a moment where things break for Carol with Zosha. And that moment is when Zosha says to her, "We're doing this because we love you." And she had to have heard that same sentence from her mother at some point, right? With the conversion therapy camp.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is just a pattern that Carol recognizes of abuse in the name of love, right? In taking away her agency in the name of love. That really makes this relationship with the plurbs and with the Zosha plurb fascinating.
I also think Carol has a lot of ups and downs throughout this whole season, and it's taken her a long time to get on the same, to calibrate with Manusos and his point of view. She's kind of ebbed and flowed quite a bit from his baseline. And I think that that's an interesting equilibrium that we're searching for here as we wrap up season 1. And also to your point about this, abuse in the name of love, and we're doing it out of love. Carol's so interesting because she likes to be, it's weird. It's she doesn't really want to be in control, but she also doesn't want to be controlled. She wants people to.
So she's a cat.
She's got a real cat vibe, I think. She wants other people to, it seems make the plans for her and show her around and kind of craft her experiences, but she still wants to buy into that idea. So when someone's telling her she has to be some way, she always bucks back, and she bucks back hard. And that I see that for sure as something that's rooted in her lived experience, especially in adolescence.
Right.
So it's really interesting to Caroline's points about, would we be human without conflict? Right. I'm not sure. Based on this, this show, it's seeming that we wouldn't. Right. Utopia isn't just everyone happy and agreeable. Like Utopia has challenges and things to overcome.
And we've talked about that all season long, that without friction, where do new ideas come from? Where does art come from? Where does do new insights and new discoveries and breakthroughs come from? Pure intellect is helpful in some ways, but as a human experience with our serotonin or what do I want to call it?
You want to call it oxytocin. But that's not it. It's oxytocin.
Oxytocin.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that sort of makeup that we are, what are we without conflict?
Mm.
What are we without the human heart in conflict with itself? It's been a long time since I've got to say that. That feels good. And that's what makes for interesting drama. That's what makes, it's tension and release. That's what makes good story.
And even when you talk about, sorry to cut you off.
No, please go carry on.
But when you talk about, love and the neurobiology of love, like the plurbs give off a lot of oxytocin, right? There's lots of let's be close and nurturing. But the vasopressin is really where the conflict comes in. And I think Carol has is ruled more by her vasopressin than anything else, which is like the neurotransmitter, the neurochemical that elicits rage in the name of love. Like fighting for what's right and just in the name of love. Mm-hmm. And we're not getting that a lot from the plurbs. We're getting a lot of blind serotonin, blind dopamine, right? And none of that fight. And that fight is humanity. That's what makes us human,
I wonder, I just wanted to say this. I think that what bothers Carol the most is that this is the second time in her life, second major time in her life. And, this is probably her experience as a gay person generally. But there's a second main time in her life where someone who loves her says, love the right way or else. Mm-hmm. Love us the right way or else, right? Love other people the right way or else. And, her mother sending her to, conversion therapy, that really is just saying you are not loving the right way, love the right way, or you're going to, there's going to be pain. Mm-hmm. And this too is basically saying join us willingly or we'll do it unwillingly this way that they are doing it here. And so I just think that she is someone who obviously has human needs and human desires, but is smart enough, and I appreciate that she's smart enough, that the character is written smart enough to recognize these toxic patterns repeating.
And we see her at times recognize that. She feels something after her first outburst that has a really negative effect, and she says, "Can you give me something so that I won't do that anymore?"
Yeah,
and we see some growth in her. I was thinking as well, John, and I know we've talked a little bit about this in previous years of our podcasting, this idea that human beings and our relationship to narrative structures, the stories that we tell ourselves culturally. Oh, what's the story of America? What's the story of this country or these peoples? And how narrative structure drives us. But at the same time, I'm sort of conflicted with the idea, and this is sort of to you, Nichole, too, is evolutionary biology. Mm. And how how Homo sapiens sapien is as we are now. And how do we not diminish ourselves when we look at our evolutionary history as a species and how we got to where we are? So I think there's an interesting tension there between our biology and then the intellectual stories that we tell ourselves to framework ourselves as we move around the planet.
Yeah, and I think that how we're nurtured has a lot to do with that. These we call it the intersection of nature and nurture, epigenetics, how it all relates to each other. And we're seeing, maybe Carol has a baseline to a more aggressive response, and then her environment that she was raised in made her that way even more, right? And added to that natural influence. And now our biology does change our behavior. In fact, a lot of people think, myself included, that your biology drives most of your behavior. I feel like we are more rooted in our physiology than our circumstances. And that might be a controversial statement for some, maybe not you guys, but some people I work with, that might be a controversial statement. And we're seeing a real crux of that in this show. You know, if everyone's biology becomes uniform, the outliers are real outliers. And Carol for sure is, and she always was. And this has just exacerbated that. And to go back to John's point about love, it's not just where Carol is being told to love the right way. She was also in some ways being told that other people's love for you is conditional, right? Like, we'll only love you if you are a certain way. And that must be really activating for her in these moments too. The fact that she does just want to be loved, and she's trying to navigate how to earn that love, when, in my opinion, is that in like I don't want to say proper or good, but in what I consider like positive development. Healthy development, right? Functional, normative, statistically normative, maybe. Like, love is guaranteed, right? Whoever you are, you're loved. And you don't have to get straight A's to be loved, or be straight to be loved, or be gay to be loved. You can just be and be loved. And I don't think Carol got that reinforcement when she was growing up. And we're seeing ripples of that now, when she does feel very, very much like an outlier in this situation. So it's sad. I feel sad for Carol, even though I don't like her a lot. I still care about her, which is interesting.
John, any thoughts on narrative structures, both personally, the kind of narratives that we tell ourselves, whether do I have a story that I'm loved or not, or culturally at a sociological level, how narrative structure drives values, and how we look at voting rights, or the place of different genders in society. All of these are narrative structures.
I've talked on other podcasts, and now I'm going to speak in front of a psychologist about things that I barely understand.
I'm barely a psychologist, if I'm being honest.
I don't believe you're much more of a psychologist than I am. So, I've talked about how I am definitely a believer in the initiation, the initiation theory of patriarchal scripts, right? These narratives of, young boys and young girls act largely the same. And it is only when they start interacting with parents and peers and allo parents, that is not your parents, but an adult that you can, get some help from. That is what really initiates you into your gender and into your patriarchal scripts. And how that initiation affects you depends more on your peers than other people, than your parents, even, than your authority figures often. And so, I've done a lot of, I've said on a podcast, I've taken a class with Carol Gilligan. She's a really interesting developmental psychologist. I've read a lot on this subject, and I am very much convinced of that. And I think Carol has learned a lot of coping mechanisms throughout her life on how to block out trauma, and how to deal with pain and grief and loss in ways that perhaps are unhealthy. And I think what's interesting about this show is that it presents a group of people with an entirely new script outside of the patriarchy, right? Outside of a modern...
They're egalitarian.
Right, they're egalitarian. And yet they're egalitarian in a way that I think of... I'm trying to decide how badly to spoil Dune, the books. There's an idea in Dune of your consciousness being put in the back seat to a large number of beings.
Right.
And that always was terrifying to me. And I think that we're seeing that here, right? Mm-hmm. I think that when I feel like I'm getting off track with the question here, but I think that when somebody wakes up from one of these, they're going to be like, that was horrifying. I was not in control of myself, but I was still there in the back of my head. And I think we're going to see something
to get
like
out.
that. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I don't think that these people are vanishing. I think they are just in the back seat. And then I think the virus is just its own thing. I think it's more like the midge from
Alien
Earth than it is like, just magical, basically like, opioid braining people.
Well,
what was the question again?
It was all about narrative structures, and if you had any thoughts on narrative structure, both sociologically and individually.
So narrative structure, I think Carol is being confronted with something that she's not been confronted with before, right? It is something outside of the scripts that she thought she knew. She's deeply uncomfortable with it, and that is more traumatic to her almost than dealing with a struggle that would be more within this patriarchal structure that she was raised in.
Interesting. Yeah. I like this idea that the plurbs are outside of anything we've known. And even for us viewers, because we're used to alien invasions being malicious and violent and, War of the Worlds kind of, and not, hey, what do you need? You want Air Force One? Oh, you want to recreate the scene from this movie? Yeah, no problem. We'll do that for you.
But in some ways that is violent. It's just not obtusely, it's psychologically violent.
Right. And what I'm saying is we're trained for laser guns and spaceships descending upon us, and so it sort of, it's like whoa. And it I think there's something interesting there too in terms of, again, of biology and who we are and my narrative structure, who I am to myself, suddenly joining a sea of a Jungian consciousness, where I am both individual and yet non-individual, is it's really fascinating from a construct standpoint. So, but let's push in and on into feedback. Let's talk a little bit. Let's use the Kusumayu's joining in her village as a little bit of an entryway further into this question of the plurbs and how things work. Both Gnarls and Moto Writers D made comments about how sad they were to see Kusumayu's village and its culture going completely extinct in the second that she joined. The join no longer have to keep up appearances to make Kusumayu happy, especially as she must have asked the plurbs to keep things the way they were before the joining. Even the baby goat knows that this is wrong. Zatoichi chimed in and says, does anyone else feel bad for the baby goat?
Yeah.
And then Dopamine, yes. And then Dopamini adds that... asks us basically, do we know much about plant medicine ceremonies in Peru specifically? And no, I know nothing about plant ceremonies specifically in Peru, but that's why we have community. That's why we are weirdly plurb here, because we can learn from you, because that's what you were seeing. There's a blend of Christianity folded into the indigenous practices, but they truly worship the spirit of the plant. That's what I saw, not anything Christian. And this is in relation to, on our vibe check, I was talking about the semiotics of what was encoded in there that looked like Christian practice, I guess you could say. Dopamini continues, plus it was all BS anyway. Once Kusumayu was joined, it all stopped. The joined don't know anything from each other except whatever their resource extraction work is. Anything remotely human is only there for the benefit of unjoined humans, including the ceremony. Nichole sort of pulling back, using the Kusumayu joining ceremony, but then pulling back and thinking about the joined as a organism. Thoughts?
Yeah, we had referenced this in our previous episode, how it did feel like a masquerade, kind of felt like a scene for the girl being joined. It didn't seem genuine. It seemed so performative, and the vacuum that was created when she...
I love that word. Yeah, vacuum. It just suddenly...
And then it just went away. Like all of the spiritual fabric and all of the texture of that scene, it just became very sanitized as soon as she was joined. And I think that is a metaphor for joining as a whole. And I'm eager to see moving forward in next season, if and when we get to observe other people being joined, if that similar vacuum exists and how they play that when that person being joined isn't as compliant as this young Peruvian girl might have been,
Mm.
right? What if we are in an environment they hold someone down and force them to be joined, right? Which seems like a very big departure for the plurbs in this very like sterilized, cozy environment that they're trying to create. I wonder how forceful it will become, and I'm not really looking forward to that. I think that would be very hard to watch for so many reasons. But this this was like psychologically very challenging to watch someone's individuality just be sniffed away, you know?
Right. And we did see the initial joining events globally, right? And they do it without consent.
Yeah.
But without harming the person, right? They're licking donuts and but physical harm, right?
Yeah,
They're not sticking needles in people.
No, I just mean like a lot of people, felt like Helen, right? Fell and died.
Collateral
That's true.
damage.
Yeah. A lot of collateral damage. The guy that was hanging from the cherry picker bucket. We're fine, Carol.
We're good.
So good.
You got it from here.
Yeah, I assume they're just going to gas Carol at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And then Manusos is going to be like, shit.
Right.
Carol Sturka.
I don't like that.
John, you felt for the goat as well.
I felt for the goat. I think it's showing you how utilitarianism, is brutal too, right? Like, there may be no, gore in this show. There may be no violence, physical violence in the show, but there is a cost and there is pain that will occur because of the plurbus.
Plurbs.
Yes.
Plurbs.
Yeah, he hasn't been with us yet, so
okay.
he's
I'm so sorry. I don't have the lingo down.
I'll take physical gore over psychological violence any day.
And cultural violence.
Yeah.
I have an unreleased episode with Marilyn and I talking about some theology and religion related stuff. And I haven't released it yet, partly just because it's me explaining a lot and I don't know if that's interesting or not. So I need to listen back to it and see where I am with that. But as I was explaining the show to her, I remember Marilyn had a moment where she kind of sat back and I'm so fascinated by all of our reactions. I'm fascinated by the show, so I'm always leaning in. But there are parts of the show that really gut check people and they lean back. And they're like, that is violence. That is cultural violence. That is psychological violence. That is individual violence, even though it's couched in, we love you, Carol, and we don't want to do anything that's going to harm you. It's such an interesting construct. It's such a fascinating world that they've spun up.
Did Marilyn bring up Quaker meeting in your podcast with her about this?
I don't think so.
Because I feel like you got to poke her brain about that because I've been to a Quaker meeting, but Marilyn is, goes often. And, the idea is you sit in silence. And if you are moved by, your inner light, you speak up.
Maybe we did touch on it. It was a few days ago now, so I don't.
I feel like you must have. She loves talking about it, but it reminds me of how all these plurbs are always working in silence, right? Always in this sort of silent meditation, and then one of them will speak for the collective, and that's so fascinating to me that it can be a beautiful thing when it's a group of individuals holding a collective meditation. But once it is an individual pluribus collective consciousness, it becomes horror, right? Like what is the difference fundamentally there?
That's a really good question. I think it's the lack of autonomy, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's the fact that you aren't you don't exist as an individual to have their own light. Like you are part of one of many. And that's just effing creepy. It's just creepy. Full stop. Right?
Goes against our construct as human beings, right? And
we want to think that we're all unique snowflakes. We're all special and different, even if some of us are more similar than others. You meet people out of nowhere and you're like, wow, I feel like I've known you forever. We're cut from the same cloth. And we've had different lived experiences that we can pull from to add color and richness to that foundational relationship. And it just becomes a lot less interesting when you know everything about everyone all the time.
which is the kind of a paradox of humanity, is that we're 99.9999% all the same on the Earth.
Yeah.
From a design and build standpoint. The variations from a species level, like I'm talking really high species level, are minimal. And yet we all have these unique experiences as we walk the earth, and we all have our unique circumstances, and finding the beauty in that, and recognizing the individuality.
Right? The plurbs have just been reduced to a bunch of meat puppets when we're all like rich with our individual experience, which is, incomparable. I don't know. And all this to say, I feel bad for the goat too, because that goat just wants to be pet. It needs a human to pet it and take care of it and love it for who it is. And all these poor animals are just left. They're left behind.
Yeah. And to me, that was the penny drop moment of, that this is a different.
Yeah.
Now I see what the plurbs do to, I don't want to say life, but the stark contrast between the plurbs and society as we had known it prior, even with all the horrificness of our current modern society, that this placid, no violence kind of thing, it is devoid. And when you leave the baby goat, that to me really visually signaled it perfectly. So let's take another quick break, and then when we come back, we'll carry on with our feedback. And we're back. Let's talk a little bit about Manusos and Carol as a duo. And then we'll talk a little bit about Carol, and then we'll talk a little bit about Manusos. Marcus S. starts us off. After a season of showing us how Carol and Manusos are headstrong and obstinate, this episode delivered a real treat by showing how badly they didn't naturally mix. A cringeworthy and uncomfortable delight to watch. And when I hear the beginning of the mantra, "My name is Manusos Oviedo. I am not one of them. I wish to save the world," my mind wants to finish it with, "My name is in." I can't.
You don't know what this is?
No.
I know, of course I know what it is. I just can't pronounce his name.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Thank you.
I'm not doing the accent like Mandy Patinkin did.
I just had a podcaster mouth, so I couldn't say.
I was like, how do you not know what this is, David? Of course, you make fun of me for not watching movies. If you don't know The Princess Bride.
Come on.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, my mind went there as well.
Yeah.
And then Jerky said this was a banger finale and gave me pretty much everything I wanted. The plane has landed. Manusos is hardcore. His and Carol's back and forth was hilarious. They were arguing while the phone translation was still going. That was divertado, as one might say, meaning fun. It reminded me of talking with some of my South and Central American friends on my soccer team, like when we want to have a more nuanced conversation but don't have a fully bilingual friend handy. Let's talk a little bit about the duo, Carol and Manusos, and kind of what you're expecting for next year. John, you're into the parallel thing here. We're very pit-coded right now. With
we're pit-coded.
Season 2.
Yes, I think that they are going to be. I think that they were, the latter half of the season, they were, I don't want to say foil, because foil is misused all the time. Foil is one character is static, the other one is dynamic. You're using the character that is a foil, the static one, to show the difference in the dynamic character. People use it as like these two characters going in parallel or different journeys. It's wrong. You're wrong. Anyway, my point is, they are the wrong kind of foil.
You're a college professor. You're just a literary, a lit professor in disguise. That's all you are.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
You got your sweater on there. Does it have little patches on the elbows?
Yeah, I gotta put patches on it. I gotta make sure to have a pencil behind my ear.
Yeah, perfect.
I have to interrupt and say I went to Mark's house to record Never Mind the Music episode the other day, and he had a jacket on with patches on the elbow. I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yes.
He's like, "I have an important meeting."
I'm a doctor. I wear a lab coat and
it's clear.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, I'm going for the parallel but slightly different journeys, but I think that that's basically done now. I think we've done that work, and next season we are going to have this I think there's going to be a lot of friction, but I think they're going to be moving in the same direction.
Right. Thoughts on Carol and Manusos, their interactions, their future, what we saw, Nichole?
Yeah, it's so wild because this whole season for me, I was like, when are they going to meet? When are they going to meet? And like, I didn't even think for a second that when they met, they wouldn't just fall immediately in step with each other. I thought they were going to meet and just be like, yes, we're in it. You're here now. But then everything changed. And I was like, if they're not getting along, like just get along. Like you have so much in common, like just vibe with each other. And the tension was really delicious. And of course, it adds richness to the story. Of course, it would be too easy if they just fell in step with each other and decided, yes, let's save the world right off the bat.
Right. That's a different show.
That's a different show. And I should have known better. I'm just a fool for collaboration, and I was really eager to see them just vibe with each other. And I'm kind of glad that they didn't. It added a nice tension, nice texture to the story for sure.
And I think it's interesting that Manusos is who he is because we don't really know who Zosha is. What if Zosha was able to be, if they were able to jailbreak Zosha and she was back to her usual self? How would she feel about being in a same-sex relationship? How would she feel about being in Albuquerque? There's a lot
be clear,
there.
Carol never asks that. She asks if she had someone else.
Correct.
But she never asks, like, would the Zosha be into me?
Right. Right. And Zosha is identified by the hive to be her chaperone, right? Based on what? Physical looks.
Yeah. Based on the vibes.
Yeah. Whereas Manusos is Manusos, pure and simple. And I think maybe that's a good point to pivot a little bit to Carol and Manusos. Abby on the Discord wrote, this goes back to when she was watching the episode. I'm halfway through the episode and annoyed by Carol. I was sympathetic to her trauma, grief, and then being left alone for 40 days took a toll, but she really drank that lemonade. All it took was to get kissed by the hot lady, and now she's in love. Her brain's put on hold. Sure, Manusos is extreme, but he's also listening and adapting and trying to find a solution. Carol doesn't even ask what and why, just brings out a big gun. Back to the cop mentality. They are not yours, Carol, her choice. So cringe and uncomfy. Let's psychoanalyze Carol a little bit.
We haven't been doing that for like an hour.
Not enough.
Oh, I think,
Go for it, Nichole.
I think Carol's having a trauma response, a grief response. I'm reminding myself constantly that Zosha's not Zosha. Zosha is Helen, right? Zosha is taking over Helen's consciousness to appeal to Carol's sympathy, to placate her and distract her. And she knows just how to do it because Helen and Carol were together for a long time with Helen placating and distracting Carol. So it's not, I just need to keep reminding anyone who's willing to listen of that fact, right? And I agree. I agree with this comment. I was annoyed with Carol. I was screaming, it seemed like all of a sudden she just bought in. It was easier for her to do it. I think once she learned that they couldn't convert her by force, she kind of realized, okay, this is
she relaxed.
She relaxed. This is a hand I've been dealt. This seems like I could live a nice life doing this.
Here's Diabate. He's kind of having fun and living a good life.
Let me read books by the pool while my hot girlfriend swims in front of me, and then I'll go to Aspen or whatever, walk on the beach, hold hands, whatever.
Left Hand of Darkness. I called out, I asked for somebody, but nobody said anything. But Alicia and Marilyn are talking about maybe doing some work around the Left Hand of Darkness. So that would be a great conjoining.
Can we finish Earthsea?
Yes, we can finish Earthsea.
You guys take on a lot of projects.
Too many. Well, and back then we were like, we need other things to do. And now we're in this bumper crop of television shows. It feels
now we're like, I guess we're doing weekly coverage of The Pit. We kind of fall into weekly coverage now.
But yeah, poor Carol. I think that, she there's no middle of the road with her. It's one way or the other. And that must be a hard way to be. So I have a lot of empathy for her.
And we see that with the handcuff,
Yeah.
Right. She doesn't think to go, oh, well, let me go find a key. Let me go to the cop shop or, let me go find another, something. She just lives with it until she realizes that she can take it off.
It's a cognitive distortion. It's all or nothing thinking, catastrophizing. I mean, they're common.
And that makes her a great writer.
For sure.
Right. Her romantasy career is thriving. John, would you ever, well, the plurbs were pretty excited when she offered them new chapters. John, are you a secret romantasy author?
So actually, my wife and I committed to each reading a smut book together this year because we both read fantasy, but we've never dove into smut. I started reading one this week, actually.
Is it about two hockey players?
No, it's about
two dragon riders.
It is about dragon riders, actually.
There you go.
And it's so goddamn horny the whole time. Like from chapter one,
they're great.
It was heated rivalry.
The main character and her sister are talking about like the size of things in chapter one, and I was like, my God, these women are just. Their books are out of control. I don't know what to do with it.
You have to get like a book jacket for like a non-smut book and cover the hard.
Well, with e-readers now,
I have Kindle.
Right.
I have Kindle.
That's fine.
I
take a neuroscience book sleeve and like put it over the smut.
Also,
so when I'm out in public, people don't know.
No shame. My Fable profile is
we don't shame.
My Fable profile is public, and I have Fourth Wing on there right now in my currently reading. So fear not. Fear not. But I did read some of the because Apple does these fun little tie-in books, right? Mm-hmm. And they released a short little blurb, a short little excerpt of Carol's book,
Right. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I read some of that, and I was like, "Oh, this is hot garbage," and it's wonderful. Like, to be clear, like I'm not making a value judgment. I'm just saying, like, it's not good writing, like, right? Like, this is not like. There's something to be said for comfort food here, right? And that's fine. Like, but Absolutely. It is comfort food, and it's not necessarily gourmet.
And when Carol's the volume of output versus, there's a part of that as well.
Yeah,
for sure. Cincinnati Joe chimed in. Thank you, Cincinnati Joe. He had a lot of insightful comments all season long. Carol wanted to save the world, but the grief of losing the only person she cared about, the unfathomable tragedy of the world being taken over, her being rejected by the other immune, and the month of isolation messed her up. Recall that Carol offered to help Diabate come up with a way to keep the hive from starving, but he pushed away after one night of being. She pushed away from being. Yeah, it must be being one night in Vegas. She then tried giving in and taking the Diabate approach, but she began to have doubts and also found out their plans for her eggs, right, which knocked her back into saving the world. So that goes to your point, I think, Nichole, of the journey that Carol has gone through this season.
Yeah. And Joe gets it. Joe's really dialed in with this whole situation.
Right.
His feedback and comments have been really awesome all season. So,
right,
I agree.
Let's talk a little bit about Manusos, and then we can kind of tie that in with some radio frequency talk. Benomina questions what put Manusos on the path of investigating radio frequencies, and this is interesting because I didn't think about this until Benomina's comment. Which is in some ways, he is the writer's tool to unlock the mystery. Mm-hmm. So I can feel the hand of the writer now. I'm like, oh, because they made him a ham radio expert. He like if you look at his desk.
Yeah, but you ever meet a ham radio person? They are like, if the world ended tomorrow, every ham radio operator would be like, give me my fucking rig right now. Like,
that's right.
Like they're all like that. I believe it. Yeah, they were like, I've been waiting for this so long.
And I guess when you have 8 billion people, you get lucky and one of them's immune and one happens to be a ham radio operator.
I think that's fine. A romantasy author, ham radio operator.
And a
overbearing mom.
Overbearing mom. Yep. And we have no idea Diabate's background, but, apparently avid gambler.
So Jerky says, Manusos using the radio frequency to see the changes were when the joined person was seizing. Oh, that was a question. Did it seem like the seizure lasted longer than normal when he put the radio to the plurb's chest? Can you totally block a radio frequency from the world? How would that work? So my interpretation on the radio thing here, both from a Manusos character standpoint and character study, and psychoanalyzing Manusos, and the result of him being into the radio stuff, he's methodical, right? We've seen this attention to detail where he went through every step of the radio spectrum at 3 kilohertz at a time for 2 minutes. Those are all standardized things. We talked about them before in a previous episode. So he's an intense controlling guy. And it's interesting. I'm curious because they gave us that little icon picture, that little, I think it was a mother and child, a Christian mother and child thing. He's a bit more orthodox in his ways, where Carol might be a little bit more Protestant. You can argue with me about those interpretations. But yeah, I totally think that because he scanned the whole radio spectrum and he found that one frequency, he was measuring, the radio wasn't doing that to the person. The radio was hearing what was going on for the person. Mm. And so ultimately, yes, that is going to be able to be involved in how they break them out. And Motor Writers D says some frequencies can be blocked using some sort of Faraday cage or box, which is basically a structure that uses a bunch of wire basically to block radio frequency so the waves can't get in past the barrier. But not sure if that's what, when we talk about secure rooms and skiffs and things like that, they're just basically Faraday cages. But not sure if the specific medium wave frequency of the 8.613 kilohertz can. Faraday cages need to be specifically built for the electromagnetic energy wavelength, but certain materials can naturally block things like lead or aluminum. It all depends on the frequency. Another way would be to jam the signal by transmitting on the same frequency a stronger one that makes the original one unable to work, like shouting louder over the original and drowning it out. The latter would probably make more sense if they can build a device that has enough power to drown out the plurbs signal. It could be a portable device that they bring along and place in the same room or vicinity of a person if they want to disconnect them from the hive. This is just theoretical based on my knowledge of RF and modulation. It's the Lorehounds community. You never know.
Like, of course it's theoretical. I'm hoping it's all theoretical.
Exactly. And we see Manusos doing a bunch of research at the end, right?
Mm. And if they fudge it a bit and it's not like actually a frequency that can be stopped with a Faraday cage, like whatever. Like it's right. TV. All this has a little, push the science a bit. Just, go with it.
And an atomic bomb could also create an electromagnetic pulse that could jam up a bunch of frequencies as well. And I've seen that theory being kicked around a little bit. So.
Cool.
And maybe let's still not fire that one. I don't know. Not a great idea.
This kind of ties, Reader Reborn had a comment that sort of ties a few things together on the character side. I'm not convinced Carol was under deep cover the whole episode. I think she was trying to prove that the plurbs are incapable of real love. It goes back to the question of what is a qualifier of evil? The inability to feel love. Do I think Carol wanted to be wrong? Do I think she went through that whole montage with Zosha and hoped it was real? Yes. But I also think she was testing them and did not go fully into it. I think Carol was open to the idea of the plurbs until they told her they loved Manusos as much as they loved her. Everything after that was giving her, everything after that was her giving them a chance to prove that they are capable of love and compassion and change, i.e. not evil. She was testing them. They failed. Did she want them to pass? Yes, I think so. But she didn't drink the Kool-Aid and seems to be the most, as it seems to be the most common interpretation. And somewhere else I had a note, and I can't remember if I included it or not in putting all this together, but basically that Manusos is willing to kill to save, where Carol might not be willing to kill. And so they have to figure out how to come together in those circumstances.
Well, he'll leave an IOU for burial expenses, at least. He'll at least do that. My take is, girl needed a vacation after all that, right? And Like, is it a crime to partake in a succulent Chinese meal? I don't think so. I think that, Carol, she needed at least a little break before she got back to work.
It's been
After
a
40
long
days
couple
apart.
months. I
Yeah.
mean, major trauma, societal collapse. Like, she just wants to walk on the beach and sit by the pool for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then she'll dial back in. And
That's right.
And I think that when they said that they loved Manusos as much as her, that was like starting to chip away at her facade. But when she learns that they were planning to join her, they were kind of working on a solution to fabricate something to be like, it was just such a big like break of trust that was what pushed her over the edge.
Oh my God. I just had a realization.
What's up?
You're talking about this facade, and I'm thinking about the ritual that they had at the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Kusamai, yeah.
Are they going to create the talisman that she was talking about in her book, create a replica of it? And when she grasps the talisman, that is what will change her into a plurb. If she has what was the name of her guy that Zosha's based on?
Oh,
it was an R, like
yeah.
Raban.
Raban, thank you. It's going to be Raban's talisman, and that's what's going to change her.
I love it. Yeah, and all season long we were like, what does the book have to do with the show, and how are they going to intertwine it? So,
and even the whiteboard kept noting to love potion the whole time, and I feel like I'm still saying something about love. I think love is the thing here.
That's what the Beatles said, huh?
I heard that from them, so I believe it.
Well, let's begin to wrap up here a little bit and get into some sort of deeper thoughts about the whole world and speculation. Marcus S. says, I still believe the plurbs are honest in their happiness and in their desire to do no harm to any creature, and in their expression that they love everyone equally. One could argue whether it's truly love. And this goes back to, your point here. One could also argue whether they harm domestic animals by setting them loose.
Yes.
But I have the sense that they believe that they are loving and doing no harm. Whether they are right, they are honest. I think this goes to my reaction to the plurbs, because it's not some evil Borg hive that is coming. I kind of just look at them like a virus. Mm-hmm. Like, is a cold virus or a flu virus evil? It's what's interesting, or is the cordyceps, John? Is the cordyceps evil?
No, it is mission oriented, right?
Yeah.
It's amoral.
It's amoral.
But so weren't the Borg. I mean, to say that the Borg are evil. What about Hugh? He was fine.
Right. And what's interesting about the Borg is until they personified the Borg with the Queen, did we have, they needed to make a story. They needed drama. And so they created a queen. And so there's this hive. And so it has, it's somehow different. Whereas cordyceps doesn't have a single ruler, right? In The Last of Us, they are, just turning creatures into zombies and being amoral and being stimulus response. And I kind of think that to me, the way I'm relating to the plurbs is they're not out to take over. They're just biologically driven to share the sequence.
And I don't know what these nerds are talking about with Star Trek, but I think that something interesting about the plurbs that we should point out is that they are not a harm reduction mechanism. They are unwilling to actively create harm, but they are also unwilling to actively prevent harm. Right? And so they are not necessarily a net positive. They are just passive.
I mean, even you could make the argument that they're inviting harm, right? Mm-hmm. When they cleared out the whole convenience store except for the cigarettes and the fireworks, right? Like, why leave those to invite harm? So maybe maybe the problem would solve itself, right?
So.
Yeah,
it's got to be in the cigarettes, isn't it?
It's in the cigarettes. Or like she would just smoke and blow herself up, and she almost did.
That's true.
Worked,
That's true.
But then it goes into utilitarianism. They're just going around and they took what they needed and they left what they didn't need. To me, that's what I got from that. And they didn't know she was going to necessarily drive by there. So I don't ascribe a lot of motive to the plurbs other than spread the virus, right? Just spread this condition. So anyway, Sub-Zero says, I think in season 2 they find a cure, but there will be a tug of war between Carol and Manusos regarding how to carry it out. I think Manusos would be fine if half the world died as a result, whereas Carol is going to push for less collateral damage. John, any theories on?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think yes, he would be. If they could cure every survivor by killing half the world, yes, he would do it. Mm-hmm. And if they could heal, or rather, would they be able to only cure half the population, but the other half stays plurbed? It gets the same result.
Thanosian.
That's the same number of people cured, right? But then you don't have the enemy in the other side. And I think there is a religious component to Manusos that is going to treat the Pluribus as an enemy, whereas Carol sees them as a problem, but not necessarily an enemy.
Nichole?
I think she saw them as a problem up until the point that she learned they had her stem cells and were planning to convert her. And I think that's when the switch flipped, that, she put on her leather pants and now she's like Mission Impossible fighting the enemy. Right? And I do think that I think if anything, I think it's going to be the other way around. I think Manusos will want to save every human because he is so religious. And Carol will say, F it, let's bomb them all to save ourselves. So I think I might disagree. Weird.
Well, I know that Carol, knowing Ray Seahorn, she will share an office with Manusos, but she will never become his law partner.
Josh Liu says, there are millions of humans too early in life to contribute to whatever the hive's function is. People at the end of their lives and physical capabilities. What are the plurbs doing with all those people? I wonder if Gilligan and the rest of the writing staff will be addressing that in the seasons ahead.
It's a huge hole for me in this story is where are the babies? Where are the elderly?
Right.
And how are they contributing?
That's what scares me, is the inaction leading to harm is fine with them.
Right.
Yeah, but we did see a couple of instances in the early stages. Somebody was bringing an artificial limb to somebody who it had become separated from. And I think that
person can then come back into the workforce. Right? They can at least do something for the collective. What about the person whose body is so weak that they are just on a feeding tube and unable to do much?
Right. And from what we know of the plurbs, they can't actively do harm, so they can't actively kill.
But they could stop filling the feeding tube, right?
They could not feed babies, not nurture babies.
Right.
And then eat them.
They're eating babies.
Yeah, they probably are. Dude, it's probably exactly what's happening.
John Cena won the TV show, the seasons. He won all the seasons.
Guest spot of the year. I don't know. I think White Lotus still wins that one, the guest spot of the year.
Oh, with what's his name?
Yeah, with what's his name?
That guy.
Yeah, this is quality podcasting here.
I love the I didn't see it yet, so no spoilers. I appreciate
no spoilers.
That. I want to be surprised.
When you get to the guest, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah, there's a banger, a monologue sort of thing, soliloquy, I guess you could say. All right, Peter O.H. Reflecting on my top 10 list this year, there were several shows that investigated the nature of our humanity. Pluribus posits, what if one consciousness inhabited 7 billion bodies? Severance asks, what happens when you split the consciousness in one body? And Alien Earth looks at what happens when you download a consciousness into a fake body, or what happens when you create artificial big, on the cusp of some big changes in the nature of our being. It might be a few generations out, but that is where our head is at as a species. John, are you detecting the vibrations in the zeitgeist about consciousness and the conditions?
We all love this stuff. Like this sells books on the shelves, right? Mark and I did an episode during the Severance season on Sapiens, the book by Yuval Noah Harari.
Oh yeah.
And Mark is more sold on the future stuff than I am. But you heard this episode, Nichole?
Yeah, I just know Mark pretty well, and he likes that vibe. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so Yuval Noah Harari does this book, Sapiens, and it talks about like the history of humankind, how we became humans with society and all that. And then he's like, this
was in the back of my mind when I was asking about sort of narrative structures in culture and society as well.
Yeah. So, and then I completely missed that question. So, anyway, so Mark was talking about the end of the book, and then at the end of the book, Yuval Noah Harari is like, also, we're all going to be fucking robots soon, and we're all going to have implants, and we're all going to be crazy. We're all going we're going to become Homo Deus. And then he writes a book called Homo Deus, and he's like, we're going to be crazy. We're going to be next up in everything. And then he does a whole book on like networking and how like information networks are the next phase of humanity. And like, I think he probably has some points, but I think it's mostly the guy is kind of just like milking his first idea a bit. But the point is, he's a bestseller. And I think that we as a society love this idea that we are going to conquer death and that we are going to expand consciousness by doing that.
Well, the technology, it does exist, in Neuralink technology, and they are using it.
And it works super duper well. No, it doesn't. It does not work well.
But it might 20 years from now. Yeah.
It might. You know, and I don't think
that a lot of people, but also ruin us generally. So,
David, you're muted.
Sorry, I was on mute. The catchword of our generation. I was going to say that some certain brands of autonomous cars have higher death rates because,
right.
But in 20 years from now, where are we going to be with this technology? And it's interesting in some ways because when we look at now, we're able to have this conversation because of the internet. Like you can have a conversation with almost any person on the earth right now. We are one in some way. Mm-hmm. And ideas can transmit. What we were joking earlier about 6-7 being over. And my wife and I were talking with our daughter about it the other day. She's like, it's because you guys know already what 6-7 means. Yeah. I'm like, we're like antibiotics with bacteria. We're driving the evolution of slang because we can instantly know and that information can spread. So it's hard not to think that some of these ideas were in Gilligan and the writers' the back of their minds, not only talking about AI, but talking about how we're connected in now, through the internet. So, yeah. All right. Well, let's wrap it up. Phenomena, thank you so much for all of your voicemails and all of your detective work so far this year. It was great to have you along for the ride. It was always a joy to see your emails pop up with something. So Phenomena's got the final feedback word.
This is Phenomena with my final thoughts on Pluribus. I thought the show asked some interesting questions about sacrifice. What would you give up for world peace? What was gained versus what was lost in the plurbing incident? We've gained peace amongst nations, even amongst individuals. There's no more interpersonal conflicts. Mankind seems united in a common goal. They can manage resources to accomplish that goal, but that goal might be for their own detriment. Now, they'd rather preserve the signal than preserve their own lives. And although there was an initial collaboration when everyone joined, now they're stagnant. They can only collaborate with people who are unjoined. And what if everyone was joined? Then it's game over. That's one of the limitations here of this RNA sequence, which maybe was an accident. Whoever first designed it, maybe they didn't intend for it to be so limiting, But once it had happened, it was too late. That's sci-fi always says, what if AI takes over the world? I think maybe that's where they're going with this idea. You think of different computer programs or an LLM, they can only do what you tell them to do or give you an answer based upon what you've fed them. In the last episode even, they're trying to talk through a translator and it can only do its best job. When they say Carol Sturka, it's unknown word or name because it's limited. So it can't do everything. It's like mankind then is like, as a plurb society, they're like a Roomba stuck in the corner and they don't know where to go. I thought that's a sad state for mankind, but we'll see what happens in season 2. I'll share I don't know if it's off the wall or what, but my thoughts for what will happen is Manusos he's investigating Faraday cages and all these other like circuitry stuff. I think he's going to devise a way to pull somebody out of the hive. And Carol is going to get sent into the hive. Zosha had said her brain had the potential to do it. So I think they're going to send Carol in, and then she's going to learn the secret of how to defeat them, because they know that, but they didn't want her to know it. They said, please, Carol, don't make us tell you. So now she'll be in there, she'll get it, and then while she's in there extracting that information, Manusos, he's on the outside, and he's going to extract Carol out through his circuitry stuff, and they'll learn the way to undo and fix the world. I don't know if that'll take 1 season, 2 seasons, I don't know. But it's been fun to think about. I've had fun with the TV show and interacting with the pod. It's been a great time. Looking forward to whatever the next big show is that catches my interest. But anyways, take care, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
Phenomena had just a better version of my theory.
I think this is it. I think this is the one.
Yeah.
Phenomena gets it.
But now here's the question. When you leave the pluribus consciousness,
what's that like?
And can you retain everything you learned? I don't know. Yeah. I don't think you know everything at all times. I think you know what you need to. I think it's sort of like there's a, how computer RAM and storage works, right? Like there's a map, you can know where the information is, but you don't know all the information at all times because your brain just couldn't handle that amount of information. It prunes itself.
So what probably, like when you wake up from a dream and you can remember the dream super vividly right away, but as the day progresses, it kind of drops off. Yes. My knowledge tells me like that's probably what it would be like. Like at first you'd have this rush of information, but then eventually you'd have to prune that back to make room essentially for what you need to know. And you'd lose a lot. But someone that would be really good at recording all that is a writer. They just come right out and just write everything down.
What if Manusos talks to her while she's in and she's still like in a twilight, like coming out of it and just she's like, write this down. Right. Here's what's going on. I don't know. That's super interesting. I love the idea of a Roomba being stuck in the corner. Yeah. That's hilarious. And accurate, right? Like I think of the drone, right? The drone is exactly that, is they just couldn't figure out how to do it.
And like the phone translating, that was a great point. We never even talked about that at all. Like it's such a gag. And with the umbrella in the fields, like it's so funny. It's just those little moments made the show what it is. Like it's conceptual and it's theological and it's psychological and sociological, but it's also just plain old funny. Yeah. At times. So it was a really fun watch and really fun to cover it with you, David. And nice to talk to you today about it, John.
I've invaded this pod for 1 minute. Sorry to interrupt the flow, everyone. If you didn't need my glib nature ruining the perfect chemistry of these two.
Using humor as your shield and mask.
Well, you're in good company.
I did talk about that on the pit today.
Yeah.
I said, oh no, am I in this picture?
Well, I think that brings us to a close. Thank you again, Phenomena. It's been great to have you along and look forward to future contributions. And thank you to everyone who wrote in and spent time with us. And even if you didn't write in, no shade or shame. We could use more feedback next year. But it's been a real joy and a pleasure covering this show. And Nichole, it was really fun to have you along, especially to like be in the dance with you of outlining and leading the conversations. And next we got to get you. I don't think we're going to get you ever into editing podcasts. That's fine.
No, that's not
keep
for
you on
me.
the content side.
But I will say it's been really nice working with you guys. I've learned. If you asked me 2 years ago if this is what I'd be up to, I would laugh it right in your face. But you've taught me so much about like just podcasting in general. I know I have more to learn for sure, but it's been really nice having you guys as mentors in this capacity. So I don't know. I'd love to chime in on some upcoming coverage you have. You're watching some really great shows that I'm pretty interested in. So
you doing The Pit? Are you watching The Pit?
I'm going to watch. I watched all of season 1 in like one day, which was not the right move. It was not a healthy choice.
Do not recommend.
No, but I couldn't stop. I like couldn't look away. I'm really excited for season 2. I haven't watched it yet, but it just dropped yesterday. So
yeah, one episode at a time. So you can actually catch
that's
up.
great for me. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, we've got a busy season, a busy year coming up, and so there's going to be plenty for us to talk about. And Mark as well. And I know I had a lot of fun talking with Mark last year too around Severance and some other things. So we're just a big happy network here, and it's a lot of fun because that is one of the upsides of being within our community and affiliated podcasts is we just all have spaces to pull this person over here, or I want to go over there and talk about this stuff. We can kind of make that work.
I'm hoping they call me up on Radioactive Ramblers. I've been watching Fallout and really, really into it, and going back and listening to their old coverage on it to like catch up. And I really like the vibe over there.
You gotta get into their DMs.
I'm just I'm like a young Travis Kelce, just shouting them out like, "Let me on your show because you guys are so funny." And I want
just ping him.
I could just probably just DM them.
Exactly. Yeah, Aaron's great. We really like just very pleased with our community. Yeah. Anyway, feedback is pluribus@thelorehounds.com. That email will remain active. And so if there's anything that you would like to share or to thank Nancy or anything like that, that would be great. And then we'll be back at some point in the future when we know more about season 2. Nichole, anything that we need to know about? Never mind the music. You guys pre-record your stuff, so
no. We're actually this season we're trying to stay a little bit more like topical.
Okay.
So we record like in chunks. We just recorded a couple new episodes. We'll have some more timely stuff around the Grammys, doing some Grammy coverage.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So check that out on Never Mind the Music.
Cool. John, what are we doing on the Lorehounds besides the Pit?
Properly Howard is joining us.
Can we fit one more Pit reference in on this episode?
Could be. I already scheduled some Blue Sky posts because I have a lot of memes that I'm trying to make out of this first episode.
Anyway, if you didn't already hear, Pit season 2 is back. So
it's very good. It's very good already.
That and make sure that and heated. I'm sorry. I'm trying to make this joke work and it's not. Carry on, please.
I believe that you will eventually make this joke work, but not today. Properly Howard's joining us for Night of the Seven Kingdoms. We are going back to Westeros to do a buddy cop, lighthearted comedy.
Amazing.
It's going to be good.
3 episodes a week. We're going to do deep dives on our channel, and then that same episode will be available on the Properly Howard channel, but then we're going to do feedback and hot takes after the episode is over on the Properly Howard channel. So make sure you are subscribed to that feed. What else is going on? Radioactive Ramblers, we mentioned, is doing Fallout. Woolshift Dust. Alicia did a huge project on the Christmas Carol. Her and Luke did that. So definitely go over to Woolshift Dust and pick up on that if you want to keep this Christmas spirit alive in your life. John, could you please thank our Discord server boosters? I don't know, Nichole, are you up for a Lore Master read?
No. I'd like to hear the professionals handle it.
John, can you do the whole thing?
There we go.
Me. Our Discord server boosters: Aaron K, Tiller the Thriller, Duve71, Athena A, Lestu, Nancy M, Ghost of Partition, Radioactive Richard, and Adrian. And our Lore Masters: Samartian, Michael G, Michelle E, SC, Peter OH, Nancy M, Duve71, Brian 8063, Frederick H, Sarah L, Garrett C, Andra B, Kwang Yu, Nathan T, Sub-Zero, Aaron K, Deli V, Mothership 61, Gnarls, Kathy W., Lestu, Jeffrey B., Elisa U., Ben B., Scott F., Stephen N., Julia F., Kali S., Ilmariel, Paul K., Rocky Zim, Jessica A., Red Zippy, the TCS, Dopamine, Catch It, Ellen R., Mrs. Tennant, AC Wilson, Eli W., Cassie K., Chumbarooney, Katila. I'm going to try that multiple different ways until I decide on one. Josh Liu, Paint in PDX, Corey G., and Adrian.
Thanks,
you
all
everyone.
So very much for your subscriptions. Literally, we could not do this without you. So,
and when we make our Africa-sized satellite with all your donations, it's going to be great. It's going to be great. We'll put all your names on the satellite.
Well, folks, thanks so very much, Nichole. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Oh,
and
David, awesome. So fun.
Look forward to it again. John, I'll see you next Friday for sure, if not sooner.
We will.
Night, everybody. Thanks.
Night. Thank you.
Night.
The Lorehounds podcast is produced and published by the Lorehounds. You can send questions and comments to lorehounds@thelorehounds.com. Get ad-free access to all Lorehounds podcasts on Patreon or Supercast, and connect with us on Blue Sky and join us on our Discord server. Links for everything are in the link tree in the show notes of this episode. Any opinions stated are ours personally and do not reflect the opinion of or belong to any employers or other entities. Thanks for listening.